Good morning. Our scripture today is found in 2 Corinthians chapter 4. 2 Corinthians chapter 4. This is a clay pot that I purchased in Israel. Whenever I go to Israel, I like to purchase one antiquity. Just one, because they're typically expensive. This was found by archaeologists on the Mount of Olives. It dates to 50 BC. 50 BC. It's over 2,000 years old. And I'm showing it to you because we see something like this in our scripture today. Verse 7 of 2 Corinthians chapter 4. We have this treasure in jars of clay, to show that this all-surpassing power is from God and not from us. He mentions a jar of clay. The Greek word actually indicates baked clay. It would have looked something like this. 2,000 years ago, you would find clay pots in people's homes all over Israel. They were common, they were inexpensive, they were fragile. If they broke, that's okay. You would just replace them. And the Apostle Paul compares us to a fragile jar of clay, but he says we have a treasure in this jar of clay. What makes a jar valuable is what's on the inside. And he mentions a treasure in the jar of clay. Well, what's the treasure? Well, you would have to read in the previous verses where he's talking about the gospel. So God has taken the incredible gospel of Jesus Christ and given it to us. That's the treasure that we have in these jars of clay, to show the surpassing power. Greek word dunamis, dynamite is the word we get from that. To show that the dynamite power is from God. It's not us. He says it's not us. We're just fragile jars of clay. I told you this is 2,000 years old. You can even see there's a hole right there. There's some places that are clearly cracked. And sometimes our life gets that way. To call us a bunch of cracked pots would not be unbiblical. In fact, Paul, look at what Paul says in verse 8. We are hard pressed on every side, but not crushed. Perplexed, but not in despair. Persecuted, but not abandoned. Struck down, but not destroyed. In fact, it's the cracks, it's the flaws, it's all of those things that sometimes let the treasure out. And I thought I would demonstrate for you. None of us like it when we go through trials. None of us like it when this fragile pottery that is our life goes through suffering. But for the first time ever, I'm actually going to put something in this 2,000-year-old pot. I'm just going to pour a little bit of water in here. And I told you, there's a little crack right there. Look what happens. When you go through that unpleasant circumstance, when you go through that difficult adversity, the trial that just seems to crack you at your very core, sometimes God uses those things to let the treasure of the gospel leak out. People see what you're going through, and they see the faith that you have as you go through it, and they recognize that you must have something that they don't have. That you must have something different. God never wastes a hurt, and this treasure, this gospel that we have within, it's what the world needs. And if I suffer a little bit, But as a result, more people hear about Jesus, then I'll give God praise. He concludes the chapter in verse 16 by saying, we do not lose heart, though outwardly we are wasting away. Just keep picturing a fragile clay pot. That's my body, that's yours. Outwardly, he's talking about our physical bodies. We are wasting away. And I'm older than a lot of you listening to this. The older I get, the more I know it's true. I'm wasting away. But inwardly, verse 16, we are being renewed day by day. In the part that really matters. In the place that really counts. In your soul. On the inside, we are being renewed. And then he says something truly amazing in verse 17. Our light and momentary troubles. How could he say light and momentary? Had he read about the things he went through in his life? In chapter 11 of 2 Corinthians, Paul says, I've been in prison. I've been flogged. 5 times I received from the Jews the 40 lashes minus 1. 3 times I was beaten with rods. Once I was pelted with stones. 3 times I was shipwrecked. I've been in constant danger from rivers, from bandits, from my fellow Jews, from the Gentiles, from danger in the city, danger in the country, danger at sea, danger from false believers. He goes on. I've labored and toiled. I've gone without sleep. I've known hunger and thirst. I've been cold. I've been naked. This was his life. And what I just read, Paul says, now I'm back in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17. Yeah, that's light and momentary. That doesn't seem light to me. That seems heavy. But Paul says it is light. And my trouble is momentary because he's about to compare it to something. For that is achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all. It may seem bad right now, but when you compare the troubles, the trials, the things you're dealing with, not as bad as Paul, and you compare that to eternity, what God has waiting for you, the glory waiting for you in heaven one day, he says far outweighs anything I'm going through now. And so he concludes in verse 8. So we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. Since what we see is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. Would you try to do that today? Don't focus only on what you can see. Your problem, your trial, your stress, your persecution, your suffering. He just told us all of that, verse 18, it's temporary. But you are eternal. Why don't you try today focusing on the things that you can't see? Not yet. But you can see it a little bit. Through these words in Scripture, he gives us a glimpse of what's waiting for us one day in heaven. And if you could only see what God has in store for you, there's nothing in this life that you go through that you couldn't go through if you knew what was waiting for you on the other side. And so be encouraged. Even when you're feeling a little bit like a cracked pot, God won't waste that. He'll let the treasure of the gospel seep out of your life to people that need to know it. Because one day when we do go to heaven, I don't want to go by myself. I want to bring people with me. I hope you do too. Have a blessed day. And remember, this is not all that it is. This world is temporary. This is not our permanent home. We're just passing through. And up in heaven one day, there's an eternal glory that far outweighs anything you have here on earth right now. If you could only see it, you would be so excited. Have a blessed day, and we'll see you again tomorrow.